I'm here at the Unit 731 Museum in Harbin. I'm going to have a look around and hopefully learn a little bit more about exactly what took place here.
This is Jack Forsdike, a British vlogger living in Harbin in China's northeast Heilongjiang province. A student of history, Jack was curious about what happened on the land where he resides. He made that video when he first visited the Unit 731 museum, and it went viral on the internet.
As a young foreigner coming into China, I don't think that's the people's interest or priorities when they visit China or live here. I think most people would prefer to visit Beijing or see the glamorous city of Shanghai or all those natural all those natural or historical sites.
Yeah.
But why did you go there?
It was quite important to me to actually go and check that out and to really get a feel of just how this area suffered under Japanese rule. And also because, similar to how my grandfather fought in the World War, it's also part of my wife's family history. So I think this is history that is still very personal to us, and it's still part of our daily lives. So for me, it's very important that we don't forget it and that we also help more people understand it, should they be interested.
Jack's grandfather, Harold Forsdike, dropped bombs over Nazi Germany. As a deputy squadron navigator officer in the Royal Air Force, he took part in dozens of operations in the Second World War.
So this is a letter addressed to my grandfather. You can see his name here, Flight Lieutenant Harold E. Forsdike. That's my surname, Forsdike. And this was actually a letter given to him on behalf of the King. So George there is King George. And then this is a letter written by his squadron commander. Here he's got a total of 153 hours flown on missions, on operations. So it's 153.21 hours. And obviously the number of sorties carried out was 31. And then appointment held, which was his job on the aircraft, which was navigator.
The Second World War was the deadliest conflict in human history. 70 to 85 million people died. $1 to $4 trillion were lost across Europe and Asia. Infrastructure, industry, and agriculture collapsed. It was widely considered to be one of the darkest periods in human history.
How do you see that war?
In general, poverty often can lead to a lot of political ideologies that are very extreme, either on one end or the other. And I think that's very clearly what we saw in Germany in the 1930s. Adolf Hitler obviously was somebody that also spotted that and used that to his own end. He knew that the German people were suffering. He knew that the German people wanted more. And I think he took advantage of that need and showed them a way that they believed could help Germany become more powerful. And I think that, therefore, helped spur quite a dangerous ideology of Germany wanting to return to its previous level of more power and more economic freedom without all of the sanctions that it faced after World War I.
The historical legacy of the First World War, the impact of economic crisis, and major powers' appeasement policies jointly led to the outbreak of the Second World War. Of course, the most important factor was the rise of extremism across the Eurasia continent. As we were chatting away, Jack's wife Nora sat outside the camera's view, quietly observing everything. As Jack said, her family once lived under an extreme ideology, Japanese militarism. I asked her if she would be willing to share her story with us. Luckily for us, she did. It was about her grandfather's experience living in the Japanese-occupied Shenyang in China's Liaoning province.
He was born in 1929, and I think at that time he was 11, 12. So he finished the elementary school. That's all his education. But during his elementary school, he was taught in Japanese. So he said to me, like, every day he needed to bow to the Japanese emperor.
So what was your grandfather's assessment of that period?
He didn't say that much, I think, because at that time it's very trauma for him. At the age of 10 or 11, he lost his both parents, and he had to separate with his brother. And a lot of people in his family is gone. So, but I think it's also it's a basic situation for everyone at that time. So there wasn't that much time for him to accept, like to absorb these feelings. He just needed to accept these things, and just life must go on.
Has he ever shared with your father what it was like living in that kind of an era? I mean, it's hard for us to think about it.
Yeah.
At that time, I don't know, I don't think anybody can escape the possibility of somebody attacking you on some random day.
Yeah. Didn't talk much about the war after the war, from what my dad told me. I would imagine there's quite a lot of trauma there. It must have been something that once you go back to regular life after the war, you simply just want to, shut away, because there's not really much positive thoughts to think about. If you think at the time, my grandfather joined the Royal Air Force, and by the end of the war, an estimated over 50% of people that flew in the Air Force actually died in service. So even just being alive was literally a 50-50 chance. So I think he obviously saw a lot of his squadron friends and teammates die on missions.
For those who went through it, fought on the front lines, lived under its shadow, those memories and trauma followed them for the rest of their lives and defined who they were. I've been asked many times, why are you Chinese always talking about history and making a big deal out of it? Well, this is why. We talk about it because a mistake could easily be repeated, and no one would want the next generation and the generation that follows to repeat what Jack's grandfather did or Nora's grandfather's experience. When I visited Jack and Nora in Harbin, I took the time to go to the exhibition myself. There was a contrast there between historical weight and present-day tranquility.
This railway was used by the Japanese when they ran Unit 731. After they left, it was left like this and was rarely used till this day. As you can see, the grasses and plants are coming through the cracks in the metals and stones. I don't know how to say this, but it must be hard to imagine what it was like 80 years ago for the people living around this place. The crowd, the fear, the panic, even not knowing whether they can live till the next day or the next moment. But now things have changed. My crew and I are not the only people here. The residents living in this place are using this railway every day. They're not riding on it, but they go through it to get to places. They stroll around after dinner. And the exhibition is only minutes away. There, I can even see it right now. And over the horizon, the buzzing city.
I asked Nora what life was like for her grandfather after the war, what it was like surviving that.
I think he left it behind. He passed away, by the way. And also, my dad was raised in Harbin, and he mentioned he knew somebody's father when that father was a little kid. I think he kind of like just play in the Pingfang area, and also very close to the Unit 731, and got punished or just never. I think that's it. Just we heard a lot of stories about people who accidentally went in that Unit 731, just never gone back. So I think for all people in Harbin, we all have family members who suffered that from that period before. It's a trauma shared by all people who are living here.
To us, what happened 80 years ago seems distant and out of reach. To those who lived through it, like Jack and Nora's elder family members, it's the wound that one was reluctant to uncover. And the perilousness of history is that it could be forgotten, distorted, erased, and discarded. And no matter how much we learn it, we can hardly feel it. Not really. I asked Jack if he fears a repeat of that past.
It's already happening in a lot of countries across Europe. It comes down into a couple of reasons. I think one of which is that a lot of people just forget about what's already happened, especially younger generations. It's very hard for them to resonate with what was going on in politics, what is now nearly 100 years ago in the 1930s. And unless they learn about it a lot in school or they have a personal interest in it, it's very easy for them to be ignorant of the dangers of these ideologies. And so they feel that their problems now are new and unique and should be fixed. But they actually don't realize that their problems now are very similar to the problems that Europeans were facing in the 1930s, that we saw in countries like Germany before World War II.
It's uncomfortable to keep talking about atrocities. We would all feel much better if we could just let go of that dark time and look towards the future. But paradoxically, that's why we need to keep talking about it. History is a mirror, a guide for our future. Blinding ourselves from what happened before could be the most dangerous choice we make in this turbulent era. Our ancestors once paid a heavy price, and it would be a shame on all of us should we let extremist ideas run wild again.